Excellency, Your Excellency, our dear Governor, please, mine is just a remark. Your Excellency, our dear Governor, and my dear brother, Professor Charles Soludo, Your Excellency, and our own dear mother, who have spoken so well that all we can do today is to go back and reflect on that your wonderful speech. And I thank my dear elder brother for inviting you. Mine is a simple remark which will not take more than 2-3 minutes. And it's to thank you most sincerely for the honor of coming to Nigeria for this wonderful lecture. Excellency, my little contribution to your speech is that the problem of Africa, problem of Nigeria, rests squarely on leadership. It is bad leadership that is the problem of Africa. It has nothing to do with colonialism. We were colonized years ago. Today, it is African leaders that have turned Africa into a gigantic criminal enterprise. And I'll give you an example. Let me use this university. Let me use this university to give you an example of the problem we face in our country. This university, if you're employed here, you work hard for several years to be a professor. And if you're a professor in this university, your salary is 400,000 naira. And if they pay you without spending your money for 30 years, your salary will amount to 144 million, which is not up to what we used to buy a car for a legislator in Nigeria. That is the problem of Nigeria. That is the problem of Nigeria. That is number one. Number two, this university where you are, the overhead they give to the Vice Chancellor from federal government of Nigeria is about 10 million naira. So in 1 year, they will get about 120 million naira. They have over 500 professors, over 4,000 lecturers, over 40,000 students. They get 10 million naira, 120 million naira a year. So 5 of universities like this will get about 600 million naira annually, which if you convert to dollar today, is about 500,000 naira. That is what we use to go to a meeting of United Nations for 1 week. It's unacceptable. That is the problem of Nigeria. That is the problem of Africa. We can afford to do that with less than 10%. So it's squarely on our destiny. So I thank you for being part of this crusade. I'm sure our governor, every other person, we are part of this crusade. We must dismantle this criminality. That is the only way it can work. Thank you and God bless you.
I think I'm going to add my own. When somebody will be projecting up to 38 billion naira for the office of the First Lady to buy SUVs, office of the First Lady that is not in the constitution, whereas the same person is going outside the country to beg the Saudi Arabia for them to give them money to stabilize naira. That is also the problem of Nigeria. I think you will be able to add your own. Oh yeah, go on and add your own. What is the problem of Nigeria that you see?
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this then brings me to the issue of wealth, natural resources. We are told that as a continent we hold 30% of the world's minerals. And I have argued that we may have more, even more than this. But yet, we have some of the poorest nations in the world. We, in state houses, Those of us who call ourselves presidents and governors and leaders must tell ourselves every day that the natural resources of our land is God's gift to his people, and they don't belong to our pockets. My appeal to my fellow leaders is that, first, we must inform ourselves that that wealth is not ours. If our country has diamonds, it belongs to the people. It's not ours. And as leaders, we are just custodians of that wealth on behalf of the people that we lead. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a famous quote everywhere in the world that Joyce Banda of Malawi once said, "Leadership is a love affair. You must fall in love with the people yourself, and the people must fall in love with you." If that is inculcated in your mind, if it sinks, you will not touch a single diamond that belongs to the people. We also have timber, we have fertilizer, we have fertile agricultural land, and lots of thermal and solar power. We as a continent are therefore not poor. I have dreamt of a day when such resources shall be used to uplift people's lives, providing them with clean water, easy access to health facilities, and education for their children. I still have that dream, that we shall bring meaning to our political independence. I also look forward to the day when African leaders shall learn to protect this wealth on behalf of their people. Just like Botswana. I think I've seen a lady from Botswana here. In Botswana, when you get into that country, you don't even see a single diamond anywhere. It is highly protected. But you can hear every day that Botswana is one of the richest countries on the continent. They have the highest reserves. And I pay tribute to Botswana's founding father, Seretse Khama, who, when they discovered the diamonds, he made sure there are measures put in place that it shall not be easily accessible. And this sitting president now, I'm told he has said, no export of our raw diamonds, but also investors that want to come and invest in mining in our country, 50-50. You are not going to exploit Africa all the way from wherever. You are going to come and it is going to be 50-50 with the people of Botswana. So when somebody in Botswana gets land, he will go to the government to get a tractor. And then he will go and farm. And he will go back to government to get seeds and fertilizers free. And he will send his child from standard 1 all the way to university free. That is what I'm talking about. When a country is rich, the wealth belongs to the people, and leaders must ensure that people are enjoying that wealth. I have always imagined that if Dr. Nandi Azikiwe had been alive, this is the kind of leader we were going to have. Unfortunately, his tenure was cut short. And me as a politician, I do understand, oh my God, you don't know what we do to each other in politics. But I wish he had been given enough time, because he had laid the foundation for the prosperity and unity of this country called Nigeria. It is pleasing to note that African countries like Zimbabwe and Ghana now have taken the resolute measures to impose strong regulatory measures on exploitation and exploitation of their precious minerals. As a continent, we must be vigilant and stop these odd and late night flights that land in forest airstrips and fly out with our precious stones to unknown destinations. I don't know if you know this, but there are some countries on the continent, when you fly, you see strips, airstrips, and they will come and land at night and load. Nobody knows whether with the with the knowledge of the leaders, but they are able to land, load, and leave the country. Here in West Africa, one country has demonstrated that if you change that narrative, if you take control of your minerals, you can become one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So, this should be inspiration for us. This should encourage us. We are a rich continent. We are a huge continent with abundant arable land. That's why sometimes I laugh when I see the map of Africa against the world. They put it, they squeeze it so that it looks small. I don't know why they're aiming at us. They must be thinking we have no brain. But we have a continent where America, Europe, and India can go in all at once. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is heartbreaking that in spite of this wealth, Africa continues to lose her resources through illicit financial flows. The African Union in 2012 commissioned a survey under President Mbeki. It is called the Mbeki Report, where they had to look at how our money is moving from one place to another. It breaks my heart that African leaders are called corrupt. But then when our resources leave at night by planes or through this report, they are not, those minerals are not going back to Africa. So this is a situation where we all must take responsibility. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Mbeki report identified that multinational corporations are the biggest culprit of illicit outflows, followed by organized crime. That's why we have to be vigilant. We have unfortunately weak governance capacity in most of our countries, and this has created a favorable environment for illegal business to thrive, the panel added. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this raises some questions on my mind. One, why is it that our African leaders, we African leaders, are not raising our voices on this malpractice and call for immediate action by the African Union to protect our African wealth, natural resources that are also key in the implementation of our own governing agenda? Number two, and this baffles me even more, these illicit outflows from Africa are domiciled in the West and some tax havens. Why isn't the West aggressively pursuing these criminal enterprises and be true partners in Africa's social and economic development by returning that money back to Africa? Countries continue to struggle to get the money back that was illegally externalized into overseas banks. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the foreign countries, I was laughing the other day, they have even got the audacity. When they return the money to the country, they ask the country, how are you going to use it? How did you use it? You must be accountable. Oh, you were not accountable in the first place when you took our money. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all this makes me wonder, what would great Azikiwe have done to correct this injustice? Why is it that our generation isn't moved to stop this illicit flow for the sake of the general good of the Nandi Azikiwe legacy? As a continent, we are not just losing these huge resources. This corruption and illegal externalization of our resources is a direct contribution to the current suffering of our people through economic stagnation, squeezed fiscal space for infrastructure development, and natural disasters. On the point of natural disasters, Malawi this year had been devastated by Cyclone Freddy that left over 1,000 people dead and 2 million people displaced. The President of Malawi appointed me Goodwill Ambassador for the reconstruction, the post-Cyclone Freddy reconstruction. So we are building houses and we are distributing food. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and as I have discussed, and what I have discussed so far, shows that there's a direct impact on all these challenges on our women and girls. Men as well, but they have told us that the face of poverty are women and girls. As we speak, and I don't know how this is acceptable, as we speak, 50 million girls are out of school in Africa alone. They are abused, they are overworked, they get into early marriages, hence highest victims of maternal death. I don't even want to go into harmful traditions that the children face, these poor African girls. If it is in Malawi, they are cleansed by age 9. I don't want to go into what cleansing is because it will make us sick. If it is Kenya, they are mutilated. If it is Nigeria, not only are they mutilated by the preference of a boy child, is killing us too. When you are married, it is expected that it's better to have a boy than a daughter. And you panic as a woman that it be a boy. If it is a girl, it's not my fault. Go and read science books, it's not my fault. But these are the challenges and the traditions that happen all over Africa. If it is in Ghana, then maybe it is Trokosh. And they banned this practice in 1995, but we still have 1,400 women still in the bush under the Trokosh tradition. If it is Cameroon, then this child by age 10, breasts are coming out, then it is breast tiny. I was talking to a girl in New York. I said, let's go back to Cameroon and fight breast tiny. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, well, when the breasts start coming out, they take a hot rod and they press on your chest. And she said, is that what my mother was doing to me? Up until that time, she's a university graduate, she's working, she didn't know she was breast ironed. We had to phone her mother there and then, who admitted to say, well, it's tradition. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, equally, women are critical human resource on the continent of Africa. And it is a resource that is in abundance. Women are the majority of the African population and are critical players in both formal and informal business sector. I have always said, and when I said this in Namibia, when President Nyoma was guest of honor at a business forum, I said, and I quote myself, in our African traditions, where men eat first and best and most, men have become the primary beneficiaries of our economic activities. Therefore, our brothers should help us excel in business, because at the end of the day, when we do well in business, our family enjoys better health, better education for our children, and better nutrition. A McKinsey Global Institute report shows that women contribute 37% of global economic growth when they are economically empowered. And I have said that when women are assisted with economic empowerment, it is a key to social and political empowerment. Because in our nations, when we campaign for political office, we have to use a lot of money. And when we don't have money, we don't win. But our communities would benefit from a good leader in us. but we can't win because we have no money. It is worth knowing as well that our African peace security mechanisms have increasingly recognized how critical women are on mediation. So we are demanding that we should sit in those committees and participate in mediation and peacemaking. It is, however, disheartening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that these women, these girls, are being exploited by peacekeepers, UN peacekeepers. The reports are there from DRC. Now we are getting reports from Haiti as well. So we have evidence that our women should be protected.